be around the right people, because if you're not, the right things can't happen. Be top of mind, be aware. Most entrepreneurs, they got where they are because they gritted their way into what they do. And the issue with all of that becomes a matter of they got where they are because of the grit, and it's hard to give up that grit.
How can you help us, though, continue to help you? First, please subscribe to the channel. Like us. If you listen to the audio version, leave us a 5-star review wherever you can. If you see our posts, please share those posts, share the content, and link back to our law firm website, which helps us to continue our SEO marketing and grow our firm and help small business owners. All right, Mark, thanks for joining me on the show for both of us at 10:30 on a Friday morning. I hope the weather's nicer there than it is up in New Jersey. So, what brings you out today? You got anything going on today, or are you not working?
Today's my Friday, and my Friday is what I call my buffer day. So
Nice.
Mondays and Fridays are my buffer days that they kind of collect all the stuff I didn't finish the rest of the week.
Yeah, no, I do the same thing. I try and do marketing, bookkeeping Mondays. I do podcasting on Fridays, and then if I have to squeeze things in, I will. But yeah, I find that 3 days of intensive work, you get more done than 5 days of being all spread out. It's like what did they call that? The four-hour work week or something.
Oh, Tim Ferriss work.
Yeah, I mean, you probably can get more done. And if you knew you only had 4 hours, you probably get more done than if you had the whole week. So, yeah, that's the way it
sometimes
works.
I really do only have 4 hours with everything else I got going on.
Right, it's true. Everything putting out fires. All right, well, I appreciate you joining me on the show. Why don't we talk about like your background, because I know you have pretty extensive background in business and things you've done in the past. And we can get second half of the show after some commercials. We'll get into all the marketing stuff you're doing now and some advice for people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. I'll follow your lead.
Share your story.
My story. Oh my gosh, that's a wide open territory there, Mitchell.
Don't go back.
So I will say currently I am the owner of a advertising and marketing agency that works with direct to consumer marketing mostly. Really in the health and wellness space is our focus. So we work with a lot of companies, particularly those things you hear about in like the MAHA type stuff, right? Like the natural health and wellness, non-pharmaceuticals. So we're working with functional medicine type brands. But I mean, that's probably 80% of our clientele, but certainly not everybody. So a lot of people in the supplement space and in the biotech space, which is really exciting. Like that kind of stuff. I love that stuff. So that kind of works for me too. So I quite enjoy that.
Got it. So going back, where did you start? Did you go to college in the States, or? I
did go to college in the States. So yeah, so interesting start. I say I'm about as accidental of an entrepreneur as they get. I grew up in a very entrepreneurial family, so I understand the entrepreneurial bent. So I think that's something that it's kind of like in your DNA, because even in jobs that I've had in the past, like I always had a very entrepreneurial bent towards it, because one of the things that an entrepreneur always does is they find a problem and then find a solution. And they're always trying to solve a problem. And I think I think that's the sign of an entrepreneur, even as an employee, is that when you have a person who looks for a problem that's not part of policy, that's not part of protocol, like they see an opportunity to make something better, and they go find it, and they solve it, and then they find a way to universally solve it, and make that solution available to everyone on the team. Like that's a very entrepreneurial or even intrapreneurial minded person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who's able to ferret out problems and provide solutions. So I was always that way, because that was a growing up point. I owned my own business at 16 years old.
Okay.
I'm old enough to tell you that I sold beepers and cell phones back in the day.
When you were 16?
As I was 16, from 16 to 23, I had a couple of retail stores where I sold beepers.
I remember kind of pagers. I think they were They're called pagers.
Everybody had their own word for them.
Yeah.
And then the cell phone rage came in, but I was doing the beepers before the cell phones. I'm that old.
Yeah.
But yeah, so kind of played in that game for a long time, and from there, honestly, I went and became an accountant. Like I did nonprofit accounting for a while. Like completely bizarre.
Was that your training in college?
No, as a matter of fact, that's the weird part. Is my undergrad is actually in psychology.
Okay.
But I had taken a high school accounting class, which I felt made me an excellent, whatever.
An expert.
So yeah, that's how that goes. So the interesting thing is, so I worked on that project as an accountant, and I did that for many years. And then I was like, man, I'm bored with this. Like, I went
Right.
back, got a master's degree in business to try to legitimize my position
Okay.
as an accountant.
Okay.
And then while I was doing that, I decided to go back to school and got a master's degree in clinical psychology. So I did some private practice
Wow.
stuff.
Oh, you did.
Went
Okay.
and got a master's in theology. Went and then gained a master's in nonprofit
Oh
administration. But
boy.
I was always an
Perpetual student.
adjunct. I was always an adjunct faculty member at a
Okay.
local college in the Detroit area. So I started teaching, and I'm like, man, I'm really bored with this. So
What were you teaching? Accounting?
uh, taught darn near anything I wanted to because I had some weird degrees. I also
Right.
had computer science certifications and
Boy.
everything in there too. So I taught
Right.
a bunch of different stuff. Um, got into, then I was like, you know what, I'm going to go become a teacher full time.
Okay.
So I went and became a college professor on a full time basis. And then moved into administration, and then I
Oh wow, you're
moved up
really
in the
climbed the
ranks in
ladder.
education, got a
Yeah.
doctorate in education,
I got.
and was convinced that I was an educator, and that's what I
Yeah.
was going to do for the balance of my life.
Right.
And then probably about 10, 11, 12-ish, maybe 11 years ago, I was like, yeah, no, this isn't going to work either for me. Mostly because I just hated the bureaucracy.
Yeah. 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 But
And
that is not the story I thought you'd be telling me. That you
no,
were a college professor. Where was it, down in Florida when you were in Florida?
so I actually was in Detroit at the time and
Okay.
then moved to Florida because of that. And I actually was the senior vice president of operations as well as the COO later at a nationwide college group. So
Okay.
we owned private colleges and universities nationwide.
Got it.
And I loved it. I
Yeah.
loved what I did. I loved student outcomes. I loved doing what we could do for students. What I hated was the bureaucracy, and I hated the government bureaucracy and the Department of Education nonsense. And
Right.
I was watching the students that I worked hard for get
Yeah.
hurt
Really.
because of people's bureaucracy.
Yeah. And you were really on the business side of things at that point. That's why you're dealing with all that stuff, right?
Correct. So I
Yeah.
went from the classroom into the business side of things, and then it's like it kind of, my passion didn't change. Unfortunately, the environment did.
Right.
So we ended up making those types of changes, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I stepped out of that, and then I started doing some freelance consulting for a while.
For what?
Um,
In the
uh,
educational space?
I did freelance in the educational space, but then I started doing freelance of all the dumb things, in the telemarketing space.
Okay.
Because part of education and private education, it's understanding college admissions.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I was hired to do some work on that, and when I started doing work on that, I laughingly started freelancing that sort of stuff, which led me into marketing, which I was giving away a bunch of free marketing advice and said, well, this is stupid. Why don't I just open my own marketing firm?
Right.
And 10 years later, it's been over 10 years now. Here I am.
Yeah. So that is a crazy path.
It is the weird entrepreneur story.
Yeah, because I get people that come on, everybody says, oh, I'm the accidental entrepreneur, whatever. But you literally went a very circuitous route to doing what you're doing. As a matter of fact, when you started doing marketing for people, your whole background and your whole career is in education. So what were you like? Who were you working with?
In education?
Well, it was all education. All the marketing was to help.
No, marketing actually started, strangely enough, it started in the health and wellness space.
Okay.
Which was kind of cool. That was the fun part. So we started working with companies in that space. I actually worked with a company that was doing red light therapy.
Okay,
was the first client I started working with, and
Okay.
they were doing red light, but they were specifically doing red light back before red light was cool,
Right.
and they were using red light for joint detoxification.
Okay.
Which again, great, but red light for joint detoxification was what they were doing at the time, and it was innovative back then, but it was a weirder story to tell because people just weren't that on board with it.
Right. And you're marketing to fill up their appointment books, right? You want to get people in to
Well, they
use
were
the
selling
therapy, right?
devices for in-home use.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So yeah, they were doing devices for in-home use, which was cool. But again, an unusual sell back then.
Yeah. So Mark, so let me take a step back for a second. You have no experience in this industry. You've been an educator. You definitely have business experience on the educational side, right? You knew administration. You knew how to deal with. Couldn't imagine if you're doing it now with no Department of Education, what you would be dealing with. But so you're in that. So how do you? I'm the guy, right? I got this red light device company. I meet you, I guess, through somebody. You can tell me how you guys connected. What's your pitch? I have no experience. Please hire me.
Yeah, well, so this comes to a nepotism, who you know, not what you know story.
That's a real thing.
And that is a real
100%.
thing. And so that particular client that I started working for in the red light space was somebody who my dad was already involved with. And my dad's an entrepreneur, business owner as well.
Okay.
And he's the one who actually recommended that I get involved with them. He's like, he introduced me to the person and said, you guys are having some real trouble with your telephone conversions. My son has a lot of experience in dealing with call center rooms, which, at a nationwide education firm, we had a full room of people who sat on the phone doing telephone conversions. So, sales training and scripting and all this kind of stuff was something that I trained on a regular basis with different campuses. So that was the introduction, and I got a foot in the door. What you do with it at that point, of course, is totally up to you.
Right.
That's kind of how that goes.
So but that's important for people listening, right? Networking and who you know and whatever says,
Absolutely.
whether it's your dad or your best friend or your uncle, and says, listen,
Use
I'm telling you, Mark knows what he's doing. He ran a call center for, large university group. Talk to him. And then obviously they're going in a different, they have a different mindset when they first meet.
Yeah, I want to actually angle this a little bit differently too, Mitchell, because there's one of the lessons that I've learned, and I'm going to say recently, because I grew up in a family that, entrepreneurial family, and it was more important to put your nose to the grindstone and work.
Right.
And you were going to succeed because of the work you put in. So, my upbringing was, I would always work 2-3 jobs. I was always involved in different things. But my belief system, which I'm a big fan of digging into the psychology of success,
obviously,
my belief system was very much rooted. My belief system was very much rooted in the belief that the amount of effort equaled the amount of output.
Right.
And really so it was the hours worked, it was the quality of the time I spent. It was very much a, how do I want to phrase it? It was very much a paid for my hours mindset. And it was a matter of how do I just increase the value of the per hour?
Yeah.
Which is a very, I will say, employee mindset.
Right.
So as an entrepreneur, I still thought like an employee in that respect. I still thought about how much can I turn my time into? Right. And selling time is a very rudimentary answer to entrepreneurship.
As a professional, I can tell you professionals have that trouble because they're always hourly and stuff. Yeah.
You're an attorney, right? It's an hourly bill. And the only way for you to increase value is to find a way to increase hourly rate.
Right.
And there's a
bill
point
differently or something.
Absolutely. But an entrepreneur ultimately is I sell my time. Now I'm selling other people's time, or I'm selling some kind of system, and then I'm letting my resources sell themselves, right? It's an earning money on money kind of thing.
Correct.
And, in that story, what I'll say is it's only been in the last few years of my career, to be quite honest with you, that I've understood this lesson that I've learned, which I call it the value of proximity. Mm-hmm. Because attending conferences and going to meetings and spending time in professional networks and this type of stuff always seemed like such a chore, first of all.
Right.
But it seemed like a terrible use of my time.
Right.
And I just couldn't wrap my head around the fact that, like, why in the world would somebody do this? Right. It seemed absurd to me to go spend time doing whatever, because always in the back of my head was all of the things I could be doing instead of this.
Right. For hours being paid.
Absolutely. And it's only been in the last short while, I'm almost ashamed to say that, my career has been one accident after another, and it's been because I've just said yes every time.
Yeah.
Someone asked if I knew how to do something. Sure, why not? Yes, I
Right.
know. I
Yeah.
remember my first job after owning my own business. As I told you, I went into nonprofit accounting, and I got hired into a nonprofit because they needed someone who understood Microsoft Access. If you remember
I
Microsoft
remember as
Access,
a database, right?
like
You build it yourself.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I had nearly zero experience with Microsoft Access, but I was like, nope, like sure, I'll figure it out. And they
Yeah.
were like, oh my gosh. And it was funny because I would deal with the CFO every day, and he kept saying to me, oh my gosh, it's so good having someone on the team who understands this database because everything we're doing is built out in this and blah blah blah. And I would laugh. I was like, when do I meet that guy? Like,
Right. Exactly. Really? Oh, is he
um,
starting on Monday? Yeah.
absolutely, because it literally became a situation where say yes, figure it out.
Right.
When and every position, every opportunity I've ever had has been a function of say yes and figure it out.
Right.
And that's what an entrepreneur does, right?
Of
You find a
course.
problem and then you
Yeah.
find out a way to solve it. So everything, even into my current career set, I own a few different businesses. I'm an investor in others. One of the businesses that I own and operate is a medical device company, and we're
Uh-huh.
now in the process. We're in the midst of FDA clinical trials to get FDA clearances, and it's an area that I don't have any educational background. I've never worked for the FDA. Like, what did I
Right.
do? I got on the phone with the FDA and figured it out.
Right.
Um, and it's a matter of showing up, being in proximity with people, and obviously it's an integrity thing because our entire business here, multi-million dollar, 8-figure business, and my entire client base is referrals.
Yeah.
We're the marketing company with no marketing.
Really? Yeah.
And it's
What you do?
literally because I
Yeah.
just show up and do good work, and then someone tells someone else about me, and then
Right.
we end up networking our way into other relationships. And
Yeah.
usually they're great, sometimes they're not. But the reality is it's about as accidental as it gets. But I think there's some fear-based mentality in a lot of people
Right.
that I'm only going to start doing what I want to do once I figure it out and make it perfect. It's like it's never going to be.
Right. It's not.
And I encourage any listener to bear in mind that value of proximity. Just be around the right people, because if you're not, the right things can't happen. Be top of mind. Be aware.
Yeah. No, there's no question about it. I think that people don't realize that, building relationships and building networks and people that brings you more
Mhm.
than just doing a good job is important, right? And customer service is very important, but it all kinds of feeds off of each other, right? You need the marketing. And I always say, like, the marketing supports the networking and the networking supports the marketing. Like, you got to kind of do both, especially if you're a
Yep.
small business owner, maybe you're one or two man shop, or it's just you or whatever. You have to get out there and talk to people and build relationships and go to the conferences and attend the local networking events and things like that. But you also have to do the marketing, and you can't do the marketing without the networking either. It doesn't
Correct. The
really.
networking is the marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's not, don't you think it's like, it's not enough for, like, you take a guy like me who's a solopreneur, a practicing attorney, and I have a lot of friends who are pretty much on their own. Maybe they have one partner. They're out there networking, talking to their buddies, talking to other attorneys that don't practice in their area, getting business, but they don't really work on the marketing side of it, meaning, they're not putting out content on a regular basis. They're not working on their website. They're not trying to do the marketing to build, even if it's just to build, a thought leadership at
Right.
all, right? And, so somebody, you see me at an event, oh, Mitch, I just read your article the other day, but it starts a conversation. And I think that a lot of them, look, a lot of professionals, like you said, are caught up with the hourly billing, right? They're
Mhm.
busy, they're doing their work, busy, busy, busy. And then the work goes down. Now they're like, what the heck do I do now? And then they, what I call bird dog more business. They're out there jumping around, looking for more business, filling up the pipeline, as
Yes.
opposed to, like you said, setting up a system. I mean, if you're selling, you mentioned like supplements or stuff, you can't just find people to buy supplements and you got to find more people. No, you need a marketing system, a regular system of bringing customers in, working them through a process, getting them to buy, getting them to be regular customers, repeat customers, because that's what you do in e-commerce, right? People don't think about it, I think, on the
Well, yeah, and it
services
is
side.
building the funnel, and
Funnel, that's
building
the right word,
something
right?
that does its own work in that
right.
respect. And I think to a lot of, especially solopreneurs, and I had this issue not too long ago, and I had a whole team of people and felt like a solopreneur.
Right.
And it's like, which is a shame when you've got a
Yeah.
full team of people. But a lot of what happens is, that entrepreneur is going out and getting the business. And then I always say they're going out and fishing and then coming back and having to, scale the fish and fry the fish and do everything
Right.
else to prepare the meal. And it's like, but you can't be out getting more if you have to also be back here cleaning it too. And
Right.
and I think to most entrepreneurs, and as a marketer, I say this in integrity.
Yeah.
For most entrepreneurs, people got into what they do because they're good at what they do.
Yeah.
And then they try to make themselves experts at sales and experts at marketing and experts at all of these other areas because they've had to. And then hiring a professional like a marketing company
Right.
ends up feeling like a lot of money. And the problem is my response to most of them is, yes, I understand that, to hire an agency to do your marketing can feel like a big price tag, but you also charge a big price tag for your services.
Right.
Like, go do what you do best. We'll go do what we do best, and we rise together. But if you as an attorney are spending your hours trying to figure out how to market yourself and, put together a lead funnel
On your own.
yeah. Those are hours that you're not billing
right.
for legal services.
Yeah. No question about
like,
it. Yeah.
Go do what you do best.
Right.
And let other people do what they do best. And I think that is a challenge a lot of entrepreneurs have, though, because they've had to become
right. Because that's what got them there, right?
Absolutely. They've had to be that.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's not what's going to get them to the next
Nope.
Plateau, because I think that's the problem. Like what you said, right? People, they just can't let go. It's kind of like the family business where the dad is the business owner and the children are coming into the business and he just won't let go and he's got to do everything on his own. And I think that is a common ailment that business owners, entrepreneurs suffer from, that they can't make the transition to, all right, wait a second, I need to invest in my people, including, using a marketing agency, including hiring the right people, including empowering them and being a good leader and being the one that just brings the business in, because then they don't realize how much more business they can bring in when everyone else is doing the lower cost work that they shouldn't be doing anymore.
Well, and the reality is that even if they'd have brought in more business under that former structure, they wouldn't be able to do all that work.
Right. Correct. It would be a big problem.
There's a difference between owning a business and owning a job.
Yeah, absolutely.
And most entrepreneurs own a job.
Yeah, 100%. I would say that if you're doing everything, then you just happen to be
you own your job.
Who also owns the business. Like that's not the way you do it. And I think that ultimately, if people can figure out how to, make that transition and start that process, they start to realize that their life changes, right? The quality of life, their life gets better. They have more control over what's going on. And I think the biggest mistake people make is that the business may start scaling, right? From your efforts and your work, and you're killing yourself. You're not ready for it, right? Your business is not ready for the scaling that may go on, right? They could go out and hire you to do marketing for them. And all of a sudden there's a huge inflow of orders and business, and they're not even ready for it. They don't have people. They haven't empowered their people. They haven't taught them how to do it. It's a constant, like, you can't overlook those parts, right? Because you can solve one problem for them, but it might create another one if they're not in their own mindset and capable of dealing with it,
Well, and here's the reality, Mitch, is like, if you're as good as marketing as I am,
yeah,
then you should be a marketer.
Right. Well, that's obvious. I mean,
like,
that's not something you should be doing. Right.
Right. And I don't practice law.
Right.
You don't practice marketing.
Right.
So when I need legal advice, I call an attorney.
Right.
And when I seek medical advice, I go to a doctor or whomever. But the reality is that we tend to, marketing is one of those weird things that everybody knows a little bit about it because everybody's a consumer.
Right.
So everybody has an opinion. Like I love the people who make me laugh, because I've got a client who I actually just fired this week, in fact.
That was good, right?
Whole nother lesson. But firing this client, and I laugh because she did a podcast with an influencer.
Okay. She was the guest. She was the guest on the podcast.
She was the guest
okay.
on a podcast.
Okay.
And the woman who she was doing the podcast with told her, I just don't particularly like your ads. And which turned into an entire fiasco about the entire ad platform is broken. I'm like, or we can follow the data.
Right.
Because the data shows that it's clearly not.
Right. Can we get one person's opinion?
And
as
N
to,
equals
yeah,
one.
right.
One person tells you it doesn't appeal to her. And her reason was that so many of the ads were video based rather than static images.
So this person doesn't like video, unlike
And her
most
words
of
were,
society, by the
I'll
way.
never watch a video ad. You're wasting your money.
Right.
So regardless of what Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or any other social media platform would have you believe,
Yeah.
that video content engages higher.
Right.
This 160-year-old woman decided that she was going to torpedo an entire marketing program, which put us back on our heels, having to re-explain why we do what we do.
Right.
And the fact that you're making money should be enough of a reason. But it does. It becomes an interesting dynamic because everybody has an opinion when it comes to marketing.
Right. And it's very easy for people to say off the cuff, oh, that's crazy. And then people just
I don't like that.
Like, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, is she doing business with 100% of the people that you market to? No. So
Yep.
very small.
And the truth
percentage.
is, and the podcast when it went live,
Yeah.
flopped.
There you go.
So there ended up being hardly any sales associated with it. And I'm like,
So
but
it
that's
didn't
the
matter.
person you wanted to take all your marketing advice
Right.
from.
Exactly. Was it a marketing podcast?
No.
No, it's not even like the guests holding themselves out. This is just an older person's opinion that what she didn't like.
The podcast was actually from a doctor. She's an Asian doctor
Okay.
who talks about men's sexual performance.
Okay.
And it was a supplement company that was actually on the podcast talking about how, this particular supplement, that she loves it and it would be a great way for people to get into optimal health, while she's, selling her penis pumps on her podcast and so on. And this is the person that we're going to take marketing advice from. And I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, I mean, there's somebody though who doesn't have confidence in themselves or accepting the advice they're taking from professionals like yourself, or even paying attention to the data. I think your point about everybody knowing a little bit about marketing, I think like as a professional myself, right, I have to be able to have a decent conversation with my marketing people so I know what the hell they're talking about, right? So I know what my options are, whatever. That doesn't mean I'm going to execute it. It doesn't mean I'm going to go home. Maybe when I was 21, I built my own website. I'm certainly not doing that now. At this point, I don't even post or edit or do any of that stuff. I write articles because they're legal based. I have to write them, but
Absolutely.
and I got some automated tools that I use to speed that up. But for the most part, it's not my best use of my. I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm sure you and I both have the same experience, right? You have business owners who are doing this stuff, and you talk to them, and the first thing that goes through in your head is, "Why are you even doing this?" Like you're walking around their office, meeting their employees, and you're like, "Why is this guy doing this particular job when he's the owner of the freaking company?"
Yes.
And he's got all you people doing what you're doing, and you're running around. I think when you're a small business owner, leadership and guidance and all that stuff becomes really important, because then you're just paying people to, for no reason. Like it's just a waste.
Well, for the most part, I think most entrepreneurs, they got where they are because they gritted their way into what
and
they
you have
do.
to do that, right?
And the issue with all of that becomes a matter of they got where they are because of the grit.
Right.
And it's hard to give up that grit. And then it becomes a trust factor.
Right.
It's like and this is my thing. Like if I hire an attorney and I don't trust my attorney,
well, then don't
to do it, then I need to find a different attorney. I don't need to
staying up at night worrying about whether they can do the job or if their advice is good. Yeah,
absolutely.
100%.
Well, and even with the client, as an example, the client that I just fired, literally what it turned into is we were constantly wrestling about everything, and it didn't matter what we did, it was going to turn into an argument. And my final thing was like, look, you don't trust that we're going to do what we say we're going to do, despite every time we say we're going to do something, we deliver.
Right.
Like, this is not an us issue.
Yeah.
And I can't work with somebody who constantly distrusts us.
Right.
because
you know what? At the end of the day, it's not good for you and it's not good for them
no,
either. So you don't want to
no,
waste their money and certainly don't want to waste your time. So
absolutely. If
yeah,
you don't trust the firm you're working with, then you need to go find one you trust.
right.
And if you don't trust your attorney, then you need to find one you trust. And if you don't trust your auto mechanic, you need to find one you can trust. And if you don't trust your doctor, you need to find one you can trust, because
Yeah.
we live in a very outsourced life now.
Yeah.
Like, I have to find experts to do those things for me
Right.
because I can't be an expert at all of those things.
Right. But the
You know,
problem
but
is that you can go out and get conflicting opinions if you're not
mhm,
trusting the people. Look, I've gotten rid of clients too, where I'm their corporate attorney. Every time we talk about something, they come back, they go, I spoke to this guy. I don't know who this guy is. And he said that we should be doing this and that. And his attorney would do this. And then, finally I said to him, listen, that's not the road to go down. It's going to cause these problems. But why don't you do me a favor? Why don't you go hire his lawyer? If he's going to handle it that way, do that. And because
absolutely,
I'm not helping you with you second guessing everything after we have a conversation about it,
absolutely.
make
I
decisions moving forward.
I had dinner last night with a buddy of mine who's a CPA and financial planner, and he's an entrepreneur. He's a solopreneur right now.
Sure.
And he was just sitting sharing some of his frustrations, and I kept bringing it back for him to this topic of value alignment. Like, you need to work with people who have shared values with you, because
Right.
if you will always act out of your values
Yeah.
and they will act out of theirs.
Right.
And if they don't align, then you're never going to be on the same page with this. He's got one particular client that he's struggling with. And I'm like, but if the person doesn't share your values, then you need to get out of that relationship, because the truth of the matter is like, you're in this dissonance,
Right.
and you're never going to bring harmony in a situation with a person where you're forever at conflict.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
You
and
don't know who's going
and
to be more painful for, you or them,
and by the way, the same holds true. So my first book that I wrote was called Date Your Clients. And it actually walks through a lot of that exact type stuff about making sure that you are in alignment, the same way that you need to be in alignment with a spouse.
Right.
Like, attraction only goes so far. Like,
Yeah.
you
There's other
need to have
things.
value alignment with your spouse. Like,
Right.
I always say that it's like, the woman I'm with needs to be able to speak on my behalf in my absence.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, like, we need to be in alignment on key things, and the same goes for your clients. You need to be in a
100%.
values alignment, or there's a problem. I've for instance, I've worked with attorneys who are just not urgent, and that
Right.
drives me
Common.
crazy.
Right. It's common. They're
And
busy. They're not good at
they're
getting.
not
That's the biggest
urgent.
complaint about lawyers, that they don't, not their fees. The biggest complaint that people don't get back to them. Like
Yep,
today's technology world, where we have
yep,
text messages, emails, everything. There's no reason why anybody should not get back to you within, I'll say 24 hours, but certainly with 4 to 6 hours, I would say, at least,
yes.
to tell you, Mark, listen, I got meetings all afternoon, but I will call you back briefly this afternoon on my way back from this appointment, and then we'll talk tomorrow. Like, there's nothing wrong with, keeping
Oh,
people.
just let me know.
Exactly. And it's
And
the number one reason that people file complaints against lawyers,
yep,
because they don't respond. It's just nuts. But, I think people don't, I think from a business standpoint, if we take it back from advice for people, I don't think they realize keeping a customer like that, the negative impact that it has on your business. So not only are you frustrated trying to, win them over and spending extra time when you should be focusing on doing what you need to do for them, right? And you're convincing them and dealing with these issues and putting out these fires for them. But then you got somebody who's not an advocate for your business, right?
yep,
Right. If they refer somebody to you by some miracle, they're probably referring the wrong person. The person has the same mindset as the person that they're referring. And you know what I mean? So you want to be with these clients that are like-minded with you, that you're in sync. So you continue to meet those same people. And I think that people
absolutely.
really don't, they don't realize the negative impact that it really can have on your overall growth of your business,
And when it comes to that point, again, that's a birds of a feather type conversation, right?
Right.
Like, there needs to be an alignment, because if I want you to refer your network to me,
Right.
I want to know that your network is like you,
Yeah.
because we network with people like ourselves.
Correct.
So if I have a value alignment with you, I assume that anyone you introduce me to is going to share that commonality.
Right.
And some of that is, I've got a client right now who it's money. It is 100% about money. It is not relational. It is just money, money, money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like and the minute a vendor dips in any way below the expected whatever, it is 100%, attack.
Right. Because they're spending money and they want the results and they're not getting it. And yeah. Yeah. They have no
Absolutely. And
patience. They have no patience for anything.
Absolutely.
All right. So why don't we do this? We'll take a quick commercial break. And then maybe we come talk about, the things you're doing for people, marketing, mistakes you see people make from a marketing standpoint, how people can improve their marketing. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do that. Maybe you're getting your calendaring from one software and you're invoicing from another. Evenoo is a platform that we use as one of our sponsors to run our entire business. And there's other features like auto payments and integrations with QuickBooks. Visit evenoo.com, EVONUE.com to learn more. There's also a link in the show notes. And be sure to tell them that the Accidental Entrepreneur referred you. This podcast is brought to you by our affiliate sponsor, iEmployee. iEmployee is a virtual assistant service that hires almost anyone for any role in your company right out of the Philippines. Most roles range from $7 to $9 an hour for highly skilled and experienced VAs. And whether you need an executive assistant, social media manager, video editor, customer service, sales, you name it, they have it. We use iEmployee for our VA services, from editing and promoting the podcast to all the PR and promotion of our law firm. iEmployee acts as a virtual field supervisor on the back end with live video monitoring and reports on a daily basis with screenshots of your VA's workday, and along with complete HR and payroll duties. No more paying for overpriced and underqualified workers. There's a link in the show notes to get a 1-week free trial, and I encourage you to take advantage of it. All right, Mark. Ironically, we're talking about marketing and all that stuff. We're in the midst of redoing everything. By the time this episode comes out, it might be all different sponsors, and we're doing some live commercials. I mean, some
Amazing.
video commercials. And so who knows, it could all change by the time you come out, probably midsummer.
All good.
Yeah. So, why don't we do that? You've been doing this now about 10 or 11 years, right? Doing all the marketing stuff that you're doing, got out of the educational space. Maybe we could talk about some of the things besides trust, people not trusting what, the advice they get from professionals who have experience. But a lot of things when you come in to a business situation with a supplement company or a device what are the things that they're doing wrong that you see on a regular basis?
Oh, wow. Good question. So what do I see that people are doing wrong?
Yeah.
Great question. What do I want to say? Just this morning, I had a new business call, and what do I see people doing wrong is exactly what happened on this call. And that is, they have opportunity and they don't know how to squeeze all of the juice out of the orange.
Okay.
So what I mean by this
Yeah.
is I've got a friends of mine who own a business, and I had lunch with them both a couple of times. And as I'm listening to them, I'm like, look, guys, they're paying to do sponsored podcasts with big names in the industry and then hoping they monetize. The next thing is I'm asking them, great, well, you're getting all this top of funnel awareness from this podcast. What are you doing to capitalize on that on the back end? What does your email marketing look like? What does your remarketing look like? What is your relationship, what we call life cycle management? Like, what does all of that look like around this? And it's like, oh yeah, we're really bad at that. I'm like, you spent $20,000 to be a guest on a podcast of a big name influencer, and you did zero on the back end to make sure that all of this stuff, and I call it professional plinko. Yeah. If you remember the old plinko, the Price is Right or whatever it was show where, you put the little hockey puck in the top of the board, right, and you just watch it bounce from pin to pin to pin to pin. And I'm like, but you're playing plinko with no guardrails. Right. Because you're just dumping as much as possible in the top of that funnel, but the funnel's got holes all over it. Right. So that's always the question that I have is, when somebody comes to me, just this morning, I was on the phone, as I mentioned, with a beverage company, and they've got these sponsorship opportunities. And I'm like, great. So you're paying to be the beverage of choice at these big events that are coming up.
Yeah.
What are you doing so that anybody at that party remembers you?
Yeah.
And I'm saying, okay, you're a new launch beverage company and you're the drink that people are serving at the party. Nobody's seeing your can because you're being poured into glassware.
Right. Good point.
So no one's even seeing the can other than maybe a couple of them sitting on the counter. And they're there for a cocktail hour. So they're really not paying attention to you anyways. When they leave, how do they ever have any connection to your brand at this point on? And he's like, oh, and I'm like, have you put napkins together that is, got QR codes
About
on them? Like
merchandise,
print
anything.
QR codes on a napkin
Right.
and tell everybody for mixology, mocktail recipes, click here, like put in your email address for our recipe book, like
Right.
get them on a database
Yeah. Capture
so
them.
that
So you can market
everybody that exists, you can build a relationship with them in time. But there is this, a dream without a plan is just a wish.
Good
And
point. Yeah. I love
just,
that statement.
I love that you're getting in front of people, but if you're doing nothing to try to, it's kind of like, building a dating profile and then never responding to any of the messages. Like,
Yeah.
great, everybody knows you're out there. No one knows how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, no, I agree. You ever go into a restaurant or something and you see they have a fishbowl to win a free lunch or something like that? I
Mm-hmm.
always put those in. I'm with friends and I go, listen, I'm going to put my card in here. We're probably not going to win the lunch. Let's see if we ever hear back from these people again. And they don't. Like, here's people that come into your store, raise their hand and say, hey, I'm here. And you don't build a database and market to these people. It's like, that's worth
Yes.
more than the lunch that you give out, all those
Yes.
names. I've seen
And
businesses go out of business because of
that's
that.
exactly what I see people do wrong most often is
Right.
in this digital space we live in this what we call omni-channel world.
Right.
Um, the omni-channel world that we live in requires more than one tactic to work in harmony.
Right.
And the issue is that as an entrepreneur, you can't become an expert at every one of those tactics. I mean, for God's sake, I own a marketing company and I'm not an expert at every one of those tactics,
Right.
right? I literally spend my day doing this. And I think I'm an expert strategist, but when it comes to execution, I have a team.
Yeah.
Some people know how to be the best designers in the world, and some people know how to be the best web experience, and some know how to be best email marketing people, and some are great with social media. And so as we're wrapping around these things, there is a very omni-channel approach
Yeah.
to marketing. And I think where too many entrepreneurs make their biggest mistakes is they don't understand the omni-channel nature of marketing. So, I say if I only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? So they just start beating this one note over and over
Right.
again and calling it a song.
Right. Exactly. Well, I think people also don't recognize the difference between advertising, which may be much broader based, right? You're putting a billboard on the highway because you're a personal injury attorney, or you're putting an ad, like you said, you're sponsoring a podcast, you don't know who you're reaching, versus marketing is getting to the people that you want to get to and building a relationship with them so you can reach out to them on a regular basis. Oh, thanks, Mark, for coming to our event. We have other events coming up in the future. If you want a copy of our free mocktail book, please link in here.
Yep.
I even do that for my law practice. I meet somebody in an event. I put them on my list. I said, it's a very nice meeting you, Mark. Taking the liberty of adding you to my distribution list. You can opt out at any time. And then the next 6 weeks, they get emails that teach them about the firm and the services that I do. And then they go on the main list. I got friends that go to events. I don't know what they do with these piles of cards that they come home with. I'm not getting emails from them. So
Makes you
right?
wonder, right?
There's very few, if I think about it, professionals and people that I network with that I get regular communications from. If I have 10,000 people on my network and 3,000 or 4,000 people on my email list, a dozen, 2 dozen a month that I'm getting regular things done. A lot of them are just marketing crap from stores and stuff that I came into.
Build your database. Build your database.
Right. And I think there's some sort of statistic, because there are some companies, like you go buy something in a mall and now you're getting 4 emails a day from these people and you want to opt out, which you can do.
Mhm.
There is some statistic though about you send them, but somebody buys, and they just keep sending these things out. And those aren't even people I'm trying to have a relationship with. So, it's, and I can't think
Yep.
of you from a digital marketing standpoint or any kind of marketing standpoint if I'm not in contact with you regularly, right? I know a lot of people in your space. I've had a lot of marketing people on. Look, even the digital marketing agency that's the affiliate sponsor of the podcast, which
Yep.
is changing soon. I've never heard back from them after he was on the show. Like, I just don't hear from him.
Yeah, that's a shame.
It's like it means I wasn't added to. Maybe they don't have a data. I don't know. It doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense.
they probably don't even have a database.
Right, which is crazy, right? They're just going from one to the other.
I mean,
Does
crazy or not, it's
be that hard? Does it have to be that hard? Like, why do we have to make it so hard on ourselves?
it's their business to run. They can do it however they choose.
There's no question about it. I mean, look.
But yeah, I think ultimately, man, I think we would agree that at the end of the day, the goal of what we do is to build relationship.
Yeah.
And I always say, like, I am relational over transactional every day of the week.
100%.
Because it's what builds. We've talked about trust. We've talked about networking. We've talked about referrals. We've talked about all these types of stuff. And at the end of the day, all of it boils down to relationship.
Right.
And that really is the challenge for me, is we need to make sure that everything we do is relational. And we need to be able to explain that back to our clients, customers, that they are relational. It's not about a transaction. And I watch too many brands they hurt themselves because they're trying to squeeze the next dollar. And it's like, but you're missing the point, like lifetime value.
Right.
And when we get into these types of conversations, I've got a client who I'm just forever fighting with, and trying to explain, like, sometimes it's that ROAS number, right? Like, sure, I want ROAS. I'm like, yes, but the lifetime value on your customer is so valuable.
Right.
Because your customers come to you and stay forever. Like,
right. You almost can't even measure it. Right.
Correct. And you are trying to drive your business as if it's for every dollar you put into marketing, $1.70 needs to come back.
Right.
It's like, that's just not the way the world works. This is an omni-channel approach, and awareness needs to take place in many different ways. You can't build a business on the back of Facebook.
Right. No question about it. So it's very, evident to me, obvious to me that if somebody's a professional, they're a consultant, they're a CPA, they're an attorney like me, right?
Yeah.
The networking is hand-to-hand combat. I meet you, we have coffee, we stay in touch, and then I market to you. I keep you on my email list and all that kind of stuff. How does a brand that's selling products like supplements or whatever, how do they build that networking relationship with their customers when they're not going to an event and saying, hey, nice to meet you, Mark, you want to buy my supplements? So how do they do that?
Well, I mean, one way to do it is to go to the event.
Okay.
Right. That's of course an option.
Yeah.
So I'm never going to tell people that that's not an option, because that is an option. The other thing that I would recommend to people is, it depends on the business, but it's lead magnets, it's referrals, it's fish bowls, as you discussed. Like, all of that stuff is data. All of that stuff is a way to build a database. And the reality is in the moments that I meet a person, I may not have a need for their service. The goal isn't to only meet people who need my service today.
Right.
The goal is to be top of mind, because everybody will need my service at some point.
Right.
And it's a matter of, when somebody needs marketing, I want them to remember me. And I laughingly say that I show up in places based on that proximity message. And I say, like, even if they don't know my name, they're going to remember my face. Right. Because I'm just going to be present. And when I'm present, people are going to wonder. And I'm in a chat group with a professional group of people that's a health related thing. And somebody just the other day popped in a message and said, hey, I'm looking for someone to help me with some marketing stuff. Does anybody know of anybody?
You're in the group with them?
I'm in the group, but she doesn't know me.
Oh, she doesn't know you.
It's like 100 people in the group, but she doesn't know me personally.
Yeah,
and, I'm looking for somebody. Does anybody know anybody? And she pops that in. And when she does, she, it was funny to me how I never said a word, because
Other
I'm not
members, right? This is a good
the
thing, right? When
other
other members
members.
say that, right? Hey, you got to
The
talk to Mark. He's the guy. It totally gives you
correct.
support for what you're doing. You don't have to sell yourself.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be the guy saying, hey, I'll do it. No,
Absolutely. Call me, call me. I
right.
never replied.
No. Yeah,
I never replied because I don't like when groups like that get solicitous.
right.
So I never replied, but nevertheless, the message was sent
Yeah.
because everyone else replied on my behalf to tell her she needed to deal with me.
And she reached out to you?
And of course,
Yeah.
you know,
I
because
am the guy who replies to the group to tell them, oh, Mark's the one. Oh, you need help with software. You talk to this guy. You need insurance.
absolutely.
Talk to this woman. And
I always say I
they
like
do the
being the
same
guy
for
that
me
knows a
because I
guy.
do it for them. Yeah,
I'm the guy that knows a guy.
exactly. But that carries more weight for people because they feel that, I wouldn't say that about you and put my reputation on the line unless you were good at what you did. And I,
Correct.
so I think it does go farther than you saying, because obviously you're self-interested to say, oh, no, I'm the guy. We specialize in working with healthcare companies. Oh yeah. Everyone does. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, and Mitch, I'll say something else in there too, and that is it changes the dynamic of the conversation
big
because
time. Right.
it's one thing for me to say, hey, come do business with me, because now I'm in the vulnerable position of
Right. You're
having to
making the
sell,
pitch. Right.
as opposed to her coming to me and saying, hey, several people told me you're the person I need to deal with.
Right. And then you can say, well, tell me the problems that you're having. What's your
Absolutely.
issue?
But the power dynamic changes.
Same with law. It's the same way. If if I'm pitching somebody on something, they're like, well, tell me what you do. Well, what does that have to do with anything? Tell me what you need, type of thing. And it's a different
Complete
relationship.
change in power dynamic.
Yeah. All right. So I appreciate you spending time with me. If people want to, interact with you, follow you, learn from you,
Yeah.
maybe hire you at some point, what's the best way to find you? I think.
Well, the easiest way to find me,
Correct.
I tell people, just because it's the easiest to spell and everything else, is to just reach out. Go to themarkyoung.com.
Okay. MarkYoung.com wasn't available.
The
so
Mark Young. Yeah, I
Very
know,
good.
right? Bugger. But themarkyoung.com is the easiest place to find anything about me. That's got connections to my social handles. It's got
Good.
my business references.
Okay.
It also has my books.
Perfect.
You're more than welcome to take a look at all of that kind of stuff too. But easy way to contact me is obviously just go to themarkyoung.com.
Awesome. We'll put links in the
yeah.
show notes too.
Great.
All right. Well, I can't thank you for more spending time with me on a Friday morning. Stick around. Let's play the credits. And and we'll wrap it up.
Awesome.
All right. Hold on. In addition to being a podcast host, I'm also a small business attorney, mostly providing legal services in New York and New Jersey. With over 3 decades of experience, we can handle most transactional issues. So if you're watching the show and you encounter some sort of legal issue, reach out to us and visit our website, mindhackerlaw.com. Thanks for tuning into the show and for continuing to support us.